Welcome to the Young Crones Cafe, where you can get a magic brew full of all sorts of information, both witchy and practical.
Grab a cup of coffee and join us. I'm Elizabeth, a wordsmith.
And I'm Dave, a modern-day sage.
We are going to talk about various witchcraft and life topics from a slightly more mature perspective, at least most of the time.
Thanks for joining us.
Here's a little something extra from the Young Crones Cafe to get you through until our next regularly scheduled podcast. Personally, I've been dealing with a lot. We have been displaced by a house fire, and if you've ever spent any amount of time in a hotel trapped with a bunch of teenagers, you will know where my mental state went. And we are now ensconced in an Airbnb while we're waiting for the insurance company to finish processing the claims so we have the money in hand to begin repairs to our home so that we can get home and resettle within the next 6 months. At least that's the goal. So there's a lot going on. As a result of moving into this Airbnb, my youngest two, who used to catch a bus at about 10 to 7 in the morning, now have to leave our doorstep by 6 a.m. to walk down to the corner to catch the bus, which means my rising time has kicked back from around 6 a.m. to around 5 a.m. And I don't know about y'all, but I am definitely not a morning person and was really getting stuck in what I like to call resentment, where this is all about me and I don't want to be up. And if these kids are a little older, maybe they could get their own asses out of bed. But that's not reality. And rather than taking it out on them, I recognize that I really need to shift my focus some. Now, one thing I have done is I take a few minutes every morning to check the weather before I ask these kids to get dressed so that I know what to have. If it's going to be 20 below out there, I want them in warmer clothing. And if we're going to have a day like we had yesterday in February, where it was 60 something, which isn't normal for this area, I can be prepared for that too. When I am home, I can watch the local news. Where we are staying now, the cable service products that they have available, there is no way to access a local newscast easily without doing it on my phone. So I tend to look at the weather. And even when I am home, I tend to stick my head out the door at that hour because very often what I'm hearing on the weather forecast doesn't necessarily match the actual conditions outside my own door. So the last few days, when I have gone outside, the moon has been getting ready to set, and there is a wonderful view of it outside my back door. So I'm taking advantage of it. I'm standing there watching the moon for a few minutes, watching the clouds drift back and forth across it as it appears and disappears in the almost sunrise time of sky. And by the time they are gone, and I get ready to take my boys to school, my high schoolers, who I normally drive anyway because we have transportation issues that have been in place long before our recent move, the sun is coming up. So I get the benefit of both the moonset and the sunrise. Somehow, just taking that few minutes to stand there and breathe under the light of the moon, and then acknowledging that the sun is coming up, basically because I have to drive east and I'm looking for where the heck my sunglasses are in my car. I come to recognize that I am developing a deeper connection again with those particular phenomenon. There's something to be said for watching the moon that bright in the sky when we actually have clear weather and I can see it. It kind of centers me and reminds me that, yes, I am aware of that cycle passing by in front of me. The same with the sunrise. If it's nice and pink, then I know the weather's going to be somewhat precipitous for the next few hours, and I can maybe get some running around and errands done without worrying about getting soaked or freezing to death because it's hailing or snowing or sleeting, or that famous word grappling, which apparently means a combination of any of the above kinds of weather all at the same time. So, taking this a step further, I need to take a look at myself again and what areas of my life I am feeling those resentments, those unrealistic expectations that things should go my way and who says I'm in charge anyway kind of feelings. And see what I can do to dial it back, to deal with it, to shift my focus. This is a skill that I have been working on for a very long time, and I don't claim to be successful with it all the time. But sometimes I just a little shift in perspective that it's not all about me all the time, that I can turn something that can be a negative into a more spiritually focused experience, can make my life feel a little more in control. Not that I admit to wanting to be in control. I am not a control freak unless it comes to time management and a few little other OCD characteristics to come out that I usually manage better. So with that being said, if you have a minute, take a second, look at the sun today, look at the moon today, check out the weather. There's something to be said for having a nice breeze blowing through you for a minute or two to create those moments of mental clarity. And I find that I'm going to continue to benefit from them. And if I put it out there verbally into the universe, I usually manage to stick to what I start. So I'm going back to listing some of those resentments and taking a look at where I can make active changes within myself to find a more spiritual side to things. So with that being said, may you find mirth and reverence in all things until we meet again at the next podcast. Well, it looks like the coffee cups are empty for this week. We hope you join us again next Tuesday. But you can find us at our website, 2youngcrones.com. That's the number 2, Young Crones.
We'd love to have you join our growing online Discord community. Check out our new Patreon presence. Just look for Young Crones Cafe. Through Patreon, you'll be able to make it to our Discord. We are also Young Crones Cafe on Twitter and Facebook.
Until then, remember, we are witches who work with energies to effect change.
We are believers in both immanent and transcendent divine.
We are celebrants of the passage of the solar and lunar cycles.
We are hedge walkers who pass back and forth between the worlds of the magical and the mundane.
We are seekers of knowledge.
And we are walkers of a spiritual tradition we call the Path.
So mote it be.
So mote it be.